So recently I was watching the American version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I'm going to come back to why, but that film made me realize something. If you're a regular here, you may have noticed a lack of content lately. My Drops review was my first video in 6 weeks, and there's a couple of reasons for this. One is mainly that work has gone back and we've been catching up on all the work that we missed from March through to about September, but the other is that I've just been feeling a little bit burnt out. Well, at least that's what I thought it was, but then I realized that I've actually been focused on some other things, not just work. I've got a second channel, if I haven't mentioned it already, I totally have, which I think is eventually going to be bigger than this channel. I had an idea for how I could basically triple, quadruple, even quintuple views lately, and I kind of jumped on that opportunity, but that meant spending a fair bit of time making stuff for that channel, and it worked, so I've been kind of doing that. But on this channel, I've been very vocal in the past about goals and obviously language learning goals, sticking to them and how to do that and how to have tangible goals like time spent in the language. But today I also want to talk about when it's okay for your goals to change and when you can step back and consider if goals are really working for you or if you're working for them. In thinking about this, I realized that some of my goals that have just become almost like daily staples or habits, like working on content for this channel, spending an amount of time in Swedish, generally like 2 to 3 hours a day. But I'd been getting down because not only had I not been spending the 3 hours a day of Swedish that I hoped for, I'd been spending more like 1 hour a day, and I hadn't been making content for this channel. And it wasn't that I didn't have ideas, I just wasn't sort of in the frame of mind to execute them. I didn't know exactly what kind of videos I wanted to make. But my big goal, if you know that if you've watched my video of 57 hours of Swedish in 1 week, my big goal for the moment at least is to get to Sweden and make a video in Swedish with a Swedish YouTuber. And I've been doing more work in my day job than normal, and I've been working on my second channel and getting it monetized, which is sooner than I expected. And both of those things are totally in line with my goal of getting to Sweden, because let's face it, it's expensive. That's one of the main things stopping me, and another thing right now at the moment. But it's expensive, and I've got to work. I've got to do things that generate income. Now, anyone who knows anything about how much YouTube channels actually generate and all that kind of stuff will look at my second channel and see that it makes $1 US a day. I don't mind telling you guys that. So that's not going to pay for a trip to Sweden. But it's not just about that, because that channel affords me and will afford me other possibilities just in general for how my content goes and for what I can do when I get to Sweden to make a video with someone in Swedish and all that stuff. That channel affords me possibilities for the future that this channel also, yes, it affords me different possibilities. So it's about sort of working out what is actually right for what I want in the grand scheme of things, and not only worrying about things like, am I getting my 3 hours of Swedish in a day? And in case you're wondering what kind of revelation I could have during the English-speaking version of what actually should be a Swedish-speaking film, it was that we move our goalposts constantly and we don't even realize we're doing it. See, there's a line in the American one that I had thought was in the Swedish one, and I was sure that it was in the Swedish one because the Swedish for it was in my head. And earlier, when I'd watched the Swedish version again, it had confused me that it wasn't there. And then it was in the American one, in English. The thing is, I'd accidentally at some point or subconsciously translated the line into Swedish and remembered it being said by Noomi Rapace's character, Lisbeth, in Swedish, despite the fact that it's actually said by Rooney Mara in English. And it made me realize my Swedish is so much better than I ever thought it could possibly get. When I first set out on this journey to learn Swedish, it was basically just for fun. I didn't think it would actually get this good. But my goalposts have moved so much that I'm now thinking, how can I sound as much like a native speaker as possible? How can I avoid those little pauses that give me away as like I'm thinking about this versus this that a native speaker wouldn't make? That's a totally different ball game to where I first thought my Swedish would get, which is just that I would be able to recognize a few words. But without realizing it, I've completely moved my goalposts over the last few years, and I'm still judging myself on this idea of exactly how much Swedish I'm getting in every day, when in fact I'm actually getting in subconscious Swedish because I'm translating stuff, I'm talking to my newborn son in Swedish, I'm doing all this kind of stuff, but I'm still going, nah, I'm not getting in 3 hours of Swedish a day. Little bit of a failure. So what I'm hoping you get from this video is that it's good to have goals, definitely. I'm never going to say otherwise. It's good to have big goals, especially like things that you want to do that might take a few years or even a decade. But you also need to remember to keep your current goals in line with those and to not keep judging yourself based on something that might actually be a little bit arbitrary. Like for me, I've been saying a video a week for this channel and 3 hours Swedish a day, when what I had been doing was a lot of work in my day job and a lot of work on my second channel, both of which are in line with my overall goals, but I'd still been judging myself quite harshly and feeling burnt out based on not getting enough videos out for this channel and not spending enough time in Swedish. It might be the last thing you expected to hear on this channel, but do you need to take a step back and consider whether language learning is really the biggest thing right now? Should that be your goal, or should that actually be just as part of a way to another goal? Do you want to get to a country and meet someone and do an interview with them in that language, or maybe even just in your language? It doesn't really matter as long as you have something that's moving you forward. I spoke to Stefano from Lingua e Passione about this the other night, because I think that a lot of people set these goals of like learning 10 languages but never actually consider whether that's what they actually want to do or whether that's just something they think would be cool. Guys, I hope that doesn't come out sounding like me saying I'm not going to be making more videos for this channel, or I'm not going to be spending time in my target language. Don't worry, I'm still doing that. I'm also just considering it in a bigger context. To you, this video may have felt a little bit different from my normal ones. I hope you felt that it was a positive change. If you want to see how it came about, there is actually another version of this video that is more scripted, and I'm actually just kind of reading it more over on Patreon. It's sort of meant to serve as like a behind the scenes of how I make my videos, plus an alternative and longer version of this one. So guys, if you like the content here, please consider supporting me on Patreon, where you'll get a little bit more content. Plus I'll email you and see how you're going and stuff like that. I don't know if you even want that, or just use any of the links in the description. They all help me out. Otherwise, just leave me a comment, make sure you subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.